Today is Friday, September 20th, 2019 years after, I don't know what AD stands for, but I'm going to assume it's after death. And we are sitting here alongside my co-host, Nick Kasellian. My name is Garrett Pogovich. Welcome to the Primetime Fantasy Podcast. You all know how this goes. We're going to get into the news and notes. We're going to do a quick little buy or sell segment for the first time this season, and we're going to go into every Week 3 matchup, who's the best plays, who are not the best plays, and just talking about the offense for each individual team. Same setup as last time. Let's get into the news and notes. Nick, what do you have for us today?
All right, for the news and notes, first off, let's get into Drew Brees. Obviously, he had that thumb injury against the Rams. If I had Drew Brees and I was in a 12-team league, I would probably, if it depends on what your league can do, I'd stick him on IR because I'm not dropping him or
I wouldn't drop him.
But if you already have a Melvin Gordon on your IR or some elite player that's on your IR right now that you literally can't hold on to him, I'm not holding Drew Brees as a bench spot. I would have to release him at that point.
Oh.
I think he's gone for 6 to 8 weeks, and that's what the diagnosis is they think it's 6 to 8 weeks. And so depending on your roster, if you have a good player, a valuable running back or something on your IR, then I'm cutting bait with Drew Brees because the bench spots are valuable. But if you can put him on your IR, then I'm definitely putting him on my IR over, a lesser player there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what our league offers, but an IR might be the best spot. I mean, depending on how your IR works.
You don't know what's going to happen when he comes back, if he's going to be the same player, because it's his throwing hand, so that could be a big deal.
He can't hold a football. He tried
to pick it up, and it didn't work, so we don't know what's going to happen. They say it's 6 to 8 weeks, so we'll have to see.
The IR, does the player comes back mid-season? Is that how that works?
If he's put on IR, he has to miss 8 weeks.
He has to, okay.
If you're placed on IR, it's 8-week absence. It's not necessarily games. You can go through the bye, I'm pretty sure, so it's 8 weeks on the IR.
I think IR might be the best spot for Drew Brees.
Well, if he's not put on IR, that means the Saints think it's a lesser injury, and they think he'll be coming back before 8 weeks. So
I was talking about fantasy.
Yeah, if he has the out, he'll have the O next to him and whatever fantasy format you put in, and you should be able to put him on the IR. Oh, I thought you were talking about like the actual IR.
No, I was talking about fantasy.
Yeah, he's definitely someone I'm putting on the fantasy IR.
And is that the same scenario, 8 weeks, or?
No. IR, you can, when he's, your league format, whether it's Yahoo, ESPN, whatever it is, when he's back and playing, when he returns, then he will be uneligible for the IR. So you will have to put him on your bench.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have to put him back on your active roster after then.
There you go. I don't know.
What are you doing with Drew Brees? Are you holding on to him?
Yeah, I would hold on to him. I think he's a good enough talent where he'll come back and this is the first injury he's had since high school, from what I'm hearing, which is crazy to think. So I think, he might be a little rusty when he comes back because he's not used to, taking a break in the middle of the season and coming back strong. But I think if you give him a week after he comes back, he's going to really progress into his role. If you drop him, you lose the opportunity to, someone else might snatch him up, I think.
Yeah, and it also depends on what's on your waiver wire. 12-team league, you're probably not able to get Josh Allen. You're probably not able to get, I'm trying to think of some guys. And I do 12-team league, so I'm just thinking a 12-team league, Josh Allen's probably not available. You're probably looking at
Daniel Jones.
Gardner
Minshew.
This week, actually, it's kind of a underrated play this week, but I would consider Jacoby Brissett because he faces Atlanta at home. And Atlanta's secondary is nothing to write home about. They had a good week against Philadelphia, but that was in Atlanta, and that was Carson Wentz was banged up a little bit.
And so was Deshaun and Alshon.
Yeah, and he didn't have any. Nelson Aguilar was his go-to guy that week. So if you do have Drew Brees and you're wondering, do I start Daniel? Do I risk with Andy Dalton, one of these guys? I would consider Jacoby Brissett at home against Atlanta.
Yeah, he's not available on our waiver wire, is he?
Brissett is, yeah.
He is?
Yeah.
I didn't
see
him.
But the ideal option would be someone like if somehow Josh Allen was available, but that's not going to happen in a 12-team league. It could happen in a 10, but not a 12-team league.
No. So we're, it's the same scenario for Big Ben. Would you put Big Ben on your IR, or are you dropping him?
No, not for Big Ben. I'm dropping Big Ben.
I would cut him too.
Because I think he's more of a home play. Like in fantasy, he's better at home than he is on the road, so that kind of plays into it. I would cut bait with Big Ben.
And I would look into
cut bait with him. He's out for the year. I'm totally having a brain fart. He's not even.
Oh yeah, that's.
Why did I think he would return this year? No,
I phrased that wrong.
Yeah,
he's out for the year.
You confused me there for a minute.
So did I. Yeah.
I was thinking yeah, he's out for the year. Yeah, don't hold on to him. He's gone for the year.
Are you picking up believer in Mason Rudolph, or do you got to see what he's doing first?
Not in fantasy, but I think he could play well in the actual
NFL.
I think he could. I think they're going to try to keep conservative, make him more of a game manager until he shows he can take the step forward. Because they actually do have a pretty decent defense, and so I think I would not be all over Mason Rudolph. But yeah, drop Big Ben. He is not eligible to play this year.
I wrote down Eli. No one has Eli in the roster. So,
but the thing there is Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And I actually think it's intriguing. They're a bad team. They're going to have to throw the ball. If he plays like he did in the preseason, obviously that's the preseason, then he's good. My only concern is who's he throwing the ball to, because Golden Tate's not playing right now. Sterling Shepard's banged up week to week.
Yeah.
Their number one receiver is Cody Lattimore, so there you go, right?
I think and even if he gets to one of these screen plays to Saquon and he runs that up and takes it 40 yards, that counts for Daniel Jones as well.
Yeah. I think Daniel Jones is a good bench stash if you have enough spots. I'm not saying if you have 4 or 5 bench spots, stick him on your bench, but if you have 6, 7, if you're in a dynasty league, whatever it is, he's definitely an intriguing player in fantasy.
Yeah. Is there another waiver wire quarterback that we should be looking out for?
I just mentioned Brissett for this week.
Right.
I'll go for this week. I think it's a good matchup against Atlanta. I'm trying to think of other, waiver wire.
The Chiefs' defense isn't the best, so I think Derek Carr could be, and maybe even if not this week.
Well, that was last week for Carr. Carr played Kansas City last week, and he struggled with Kansas City.
Oh, so, they're playing the Vikings.
But Carr is on waivers, and I can't trust him. He didn't play well at home against Kansas City. There's no reason to trust him on the road at Minnesota. That's a tough matchup.
Yeah. Don't pick up Derek Carr.
And there's actually one guy that might be on the waivers, and he probably got drafted. Yeah, maybe not, but Mitchell Trubisky at Washington. And that's why I only consider it. So I'd consider Mitchell Trubisky as a waiver play this
Monday Night
week
Football, yeah.
Because of the matchup is too good.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's a season long, you got to have him, but if you're struggling, if you have Big Ben, if you have Cam Newton, if you have any of these guys that went down and that maybe not play this week, then Mitchell Trubisky is a decent option for a 12-team league.
Yeah. And another guy you should look out for, my guy Gardner Minshew. Listen, if he had the opportunity, if he had the ball in his hands on that 2-point conversion, I think they would have won. That's all I'm going to say. Getting into our next segment, buy or sell. We're going to list off some players, and it's simple. Are you buying or are you selling? First player on the list, Austin Eckler. You made a trade. You traded away Austin Eckler from your team, so I want to hear your perspective first.
Yeah, so obviously Austin Eckler, when Melvin Gordon is out, is a low-end RB1 for me. He gets the volume. He's involved in both the running and the receiving game. So I like Austin Eckler, but this is the buy or sell, and I'm selling high on Austin Eckler. And, this is a really high sell, and I'll give you an example. I traded Austin Eckler for Michael Thomas, so this is where I sold high, because you're selling Austin Eckler for Michael Thomas. That's as high as you're going to get.
If you have good running back depth, that's a great trade.
And so now in a standard league that you only start 2 wide receivers, my wide receivers are Devontae Adams and Michael Thomas. So you
have 2 top 5 wide receivers every week.
And Michael Thomas is going to take a hit that Drew Brees isn't there, but I expect Drew Brees back in 6 to 8 weeks, which is the diagnosis. So I can survive with 13, 14 targets a game, because Teddy Bridgewater is going to throw the ball to him, or Taysom Hill. They're not going to throw the ball to Ted Ginn. It's going to be pepper the offense with Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, and have Latavius Murray get some carries to, take some beating off of Kamara.
Michael Thomas was the next person on our list, if you couldn't tell at this point. So
what are you doing with Eckler? I my personal opinion, I would sell high, because I think Melvin Gordon's coming back, and he even said he's coming back.
Well, they're talking about week 6 he might be coming back, which is a lot sooner than I thought, because it looked like week 10 was the initial return date, because that's when you can officially count it as a full season.
Yeah.
But now I think I heard a rumor about week 6 he's coming back. I would hold on to Eckler right now. I think he's going to have another good week against the Houston Texans. Not because of the Texans defense, but simply because Eckler's a great talent. And I think, they don't need Melvin Gordon. They can easily do well running the ball with, Eckler and Justin Jackson. They proved that pretty well this week against Detroit. They had he had 2 touchdowns that got called back because his O-line decided to.
And Jackson had a 40-yard touchdown run that got called back.
Yeah.
So their running game is not the problem in Los Angeles.
Right. I think Eckler is going to do just fine. I would hold on to him for now, but holding is not an option. So I guess if I had, Eckler on my team, I'd sell because I think you can get a pretty good price for Austin Eckler.
What's the bare if you had Austin Eckler, what would be the bare minimum price? What would it take to get Austin Eckler off your hands?
I need an RB1 or a wide receiver 1 at least.
That high of a price? You wouldn't, I'll throw out a player's name out there.
Okay.
If someone offered you David Montgomery and, Emmanuel Sanders for him,
no, absolutely no chance.
You don't buy David Montgomery long season?
I do buy Montgomery long season.
Too.
He did look good. We'll get into that later. But I think Eckler's price right now is too high. If he goes out against Houston and just has a horrible game and someone offers me that, okay, maybe we can start talking from there. But to have 2 30-point weeks or close to 30-point weeks and to offer me, a hopeful and Sanders.
Yeah.
It's just not I think his price is definitely a little bit higher than that.
But I can't argue with you on that. But the risk you run is if Melvin Gordon returns the following week, because we don't know when he's going to return. But we expect him to return. But even if Eckler has a really good game, 120 total yards and a touchdown, and his stock keeps going up, but then Melvin Gordon says he's coming back, well, then you have no trade value in Austin Eckler. And so you may miss out on that. So it's a risky proposition, and I sold high on Eckler.
Well, if I get Michael Thomas,
that's kind of a really high.
That's unrealistic.
I think most people would have traded Eckler for Thomas.
Yeah, and so for Michael Thomas, you bought on him.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, the thing is with Michael Thomas, you're gonna have to give up a lot in order to get him.
Well, it depends because some people like the guy I traded with might panic. They may be 1-1, 0-2.
Yeah.
They may be desperate at running back, and they may already have a really good receiver. They may have picked Antonio Brown later, and they think he's going to be able to play with the Patriots, and so they'll get rid of Thomas. And I think Thomas is buy low is a weird term because you can't buy low on Thomas, but
you're not
buy
low.
medium. Buy medium on
Buy
Thomas.
medium on Michael Thomas.
I'm definitely trying to acquire Michael Thomas.
Does he take a hit with Bridgewater and Taysom Hill?
Yeah, but
how much of a hit?
In the next 6 weeks, I think he takes a hit in the not scoring high touchdowns.
Okay,
but I still think he's
going to get targets.
10 catches last week. I think he's 10 to 15 targets a week, and that's 8 to 12 receptions and whatever. He's safe. He's elite safe. When your receiver's getting you 80 to 100 yards receiving a week in today's fantasy football world, that's elite.
Safe. Our next player on the list, Philip Lindsay, running back for the Denver Broncos.
And now the weird thing here is me and Garrett actually made a trade with
Primetime trade alert.
Yeah.
Woo! We need a siren. We need a siren out.
Yeah, that was not a siren. Whatever that was.
Primetime trade alert.
So what do you do? Obviously, you traded him. So what's your reasoning behind?
Well, first I'll say this: I traded Philip Lindsay and Robbie Anderson, who was quoted as my guy.
Yeah, you already dumped on my guy.
I traded them away for Latavius Murray and D.D. Westbrook. Now you might think that's a pretty low price. This is my reasoning. This is why I'm going to sell on Philip Lindsay. It was a 50-50 backfield when they played the Bears. Between him and Royce Freeman. I think this is going to be the start of a turn that's probably going to end by, week 8 around midseason, where Lindsey's going to get less and less carries, and Royce Freeman's going to see a lot more of the offense. Now, if something happens to Royce Freeman where he gets hurt or Philip Lindsay decides to go off, yeah, that's a horrible trade. But I don't see that happening, or I don't plan on that happening, right? And I think Royce Freeman is someone who's going to end up taking over the backfield in Denver, and which is why I traded him.
Yeah, and Royce Freeman did look good, so I see the concern there. Freeman was actually drafted higher than Lindsey. I think people forget that, and Royce Freeman's always going to be around there because he is, they drafted him higher than Lindsey, and he looks good so far this year. And so I'm not expecting Lindsey to be anything special. Like, I don't think he's going to be what he was last year, but it was just my opinion that I didn't give up as much as I gave up. I gave up assets that I wasn't as high on anymore with Nick Foles going out with the Westbrook news. So I didn't give up enough to where I was concerned. Lindsey's not going to play for me most of the time. He's a bye week fill-in
depth option
or a concern. He's my RB4 on my team, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. He was my RB3, so now I'm working with.
You need Devontae Freeman to play.
I do need Devontae Freeman to play. Next player on the list, you mentioned this guy, Juju Smith-Schuster. Do you think his value drops?
Yes, and this is a hard one to do because at the beginning of the year, I said
you're
Juju,
the biggest.
He's my wide receiver 3 for the year.
Yeah,
and this does not. This I'm concerned with this because I don't buy into Mason Rudolph being elite, right?
Okay.
And Ben Roethlisberger's not returning in 6 to 8 weeks, so this is concerning for me. If you own him like I do, I'm still holding on to him. I'm not selling low on him. He's still too good of a talent to get rid of him. I think they're going to have to lean on him. James Conner's banged up week to week. There's James Washington looked good with Mason Rudolph, but it's still the offense is going to have to run through Schuster. They're going to go back to the drawing board and look and say, we've struggled 2 weeks. What do we do best? And that's put Juju in the slot. He's kind of struggled outside with the double coverage. I think you're fine with Schuster. I just don't think that wide receiver 3 upside overall is there, and that's where I'm kind of at a bummer because I own him and I expected number 3, and now he's a high-end wide receiver too.
Yeah, I would buy Smith-Schuster, but I don't know what you would have to pay.
Yeah, I wonder.
You'd have to.
I would like to see what trades are involving him because it's hard.
Well,
to
you
just
own him,
come
so.
up. But I have not received offers for him or had interest trading him away.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, to me right now he's a high-end wide receiver too.
Okay.
And so if someone offered me an RB1, if someone offered
Devontae Freeman, I'm kidding.
If someone offered me, it's kind of weird saying this because I already own him. But if someone offered me Joe Mixon and a wide receiver. Low-end wide receiver 2 or 3, I would probably trade that. But it's weird for me saying that because I already own Joe Mixon. So
right, you own Joe Mixon?
Yeah.
Oh, in your other league, not in the one that I'm. Okay.
Yeah. If I was offered an RB1 that was kind of disappointing, where I think they're going to turn their season around, I would. Here's another one. If I was offered Marlon Mack and another wide receiver 3, I'm doing that because I'm high on Mack. He's had back-to-back weeks of 20+ carries.
Yeah.
The volume's there, and I think. At that point, I would trade him. So if I get a running back I can rely on, a good running back, not just
Hey, well, breaking news. If you're in Nick's league, he's looking for specific name guys.
Yeah, but that's obviously hurts Schuster. Moving on to the next guy, Devontae Freeman. He's your guy for the season. Let's hear what you got to say about him.
I am holding on to him. Now, holding on is not an option for this. We're buying or selling. I would buy low on Devontae Freeman. So,
and I think you can buy low because the owners are going to be. He hasn't had good weeks back to back.
This has been two terrible weeks.
Yeah, so the owner of him drafted him in probably the 3rd round, right?
I drafted him,
and I drafted him in the 3rd round in a couple leagues. The owner used high draft capital. If you offer them a respectable offer, they might accept it just because
he's not doing well.
They might be over him. So
yeah. And a lot of these buying or selling things, it really depends on the owner situation. If they're 0-2, there's a greater chance you're going to be able to sell or be able to buy some of these guys on these 0-2 teams. When it comes to Devontae Freeman, he's had terrible weeks, but I think he turns around. They go up against the Colts this week, who've given up.
They've struggled.
Against Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler, and if Freeman can get at least a touchdown, I think that's a pretty good week for him compared to what he's been doing. So I would buy low on Devontae Freeman. I don't know what you'd have to offer. I'm thinking probably a wide receiver 3 or.
You think that would trade?
No, I'm thinking high end wide receiver 3, low end wide receiver 2, and then a throw in a bench guy
Yeah.
That would be my trade offer for Freeman. But I own him, so I don't have to worry about it.
My concern with Freeman is not the injuries right now because he's shown that he can stay healthy for 2 weeks. It's not like he's had a huge workload. But my concern is Ito Smith. First 2 weeks, they've almost had exactly 50-50 split in the backfield, which that's what concerns me because Ito Smith actually has looked decent when he's played. So he's looked better than Freeman, however much weight you want to put into that. But my concern with Freeman is he hasn't had a good start to the year. He needed to start off hot. And
hasn't started off hot.
Ito Smith is there, and you may think Ito Smith is just another running back, but the Falcons think he's better than that. And they use him as a 50-50 split. So.
And another thing is the Falcons pass a lot. They pass a lot more than they run.
And my thing is, why isn't he as involved in the passing game? Is a couple of years ago when he was the RB1, he was a top 5 running back in fantasy. He was involved in the passing game. They don't get him involved in the passing game.
I don't remember that, but if what you're saying is true,
they don't involve him in the passing game anymore. Freeman was like one of those top 12 guys in the passing game as a receiving back, and for some reason I don't see it happening. Maybe just 2 weeks and they adjust to it, but Calvin Ridley's taken a big step forward, and Julio Jones is Julio Jones.
Yeah.
And they go to Hooper more than they go to Freeman now, which is also doesn't help. Hooper last year was not a huge piece in their offense. He was kind of like there.
Yeah.
And now he's almost he's their third option in that offense. It's
crazy to think about. Last guy on the buy or sell list, Antonio Brown. I assume I know what your answer is.
I'm selling Antonio Brown.
Really?
Yeah.
This is not okay. Why are you selling
him? For 2 reasons. First reason, he could be on the commissioner's exempt list at any moment because of these off-the-field concerns. And there's a lot of concerns here. He could have an issue with the Patriots, right? He could have an issue with Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. Any piece of the Patriots organization he could have an issue with, and that could cause him to be released from the team.
Yeah.
And my second concern is there's so many pieces on that offense, right?
Yeah.
They're not beholden to go. When people compare this to Randy Moss, no, when Randy Moss is there, it was Rob Gronkowski when he was younger, and it was Randy Moss. It was more Randy Moss. And they just kept throwing it to him because that's who their guy was. They have Josh Gordon. They have Julian Edelman. They have Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead. I mean, who am I missing? They have all these guys. They have 6 or 7 options.
Dorsett looks good, too.
Yeah, they have 6 or 7 options on this offense. Antonio Brown had 54 yards receiving, and he got saved with a touchdown at the Dolphins. So I'm selling high on him if I can. And he's a talented player, plays with Tom Brady. You could sell that because they're going to say Antonio Brown played with Tom Brady, touchdown. He's going to be great. I'm selling high on him.
Well, I was going to say buy, but you've sold me.
I've changed your opinion.
Well, because you're right. Because there's a lot of concerns. And one of the things that I heard, I was listening to a podcast earlier this week that was talking about, Antonio Brown has a big ego, right? So if they make him happy early, get him, throw him the ball a few times, say, hey, let's get him involved. Let's, make him feel like he's fitting in, and then kind of like go away and like go back to what we usually do in later weeks. Like that's definitely something that can happen. And I think the possibility of them spreading the ball around like they usually do, and Antonio Brown getting, maybe 3 or 4 targets a game is definitely possible. So, I would sell high on Antonio Brown. Like you said, there's so many options in that offense, both passing and running, that you don't need Antonio Brown to succeed in order for the Patriots to win, and all the Patriots care about is winning. So that's,
Yeah, we're in agreement on that.
All right.
Moving on to the Week 3 matchups. We obviously we're doing this on a Thursday, so we can't really give you the...
We have no idea what's happening with the Titans and Jags yet.
By the time you listen to this, you can't plug in Leonard Fournette and play him, right? So we'll just give you who we think is going to win this matchup. We'll go through the matchups, talk about players, and we're going to say who wins and loses. And me and Garrett are going to have a little friendly wager with that at the end of the year.
All right.
So
we'll update you. We'll update you.
I don't want you going with me. So who do you think is going to win this game?
Well, I'm a big Minshew guy, so I'm going to say he gets his first win, gets his first career win.
You think the Jags win?
Jaguars win.
I'm taking Tennessee.
Tennessee's probably going to win, but I like Minshew. I got to go with my guy. And now let's go into the Sunday games.
All right. First matchup: the Dolphins at the Cowboys. So you're not starting any Dolphins this week, obviously.
Nope, not a chance.
The Cowboys. You're starting every Cowboy.
Every single
Dak
Cowboy.
Prescott as a quarterback one. Ezekiel Elliott's probably the RB one for the week.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper's going to be a wide receiver one. Gallup's not playing. He's out 2 to 4 weeks, which is disappointing because he looks really good so far.
Is there another receiver you think steps up, or is it going to be the tight ends, Witten and Blake Jarwin?
I think Cooper's in for a monster game.
Well, I think so too, but I think
Randall Cobb's a respectable flex option because the matchup is so good.
Okay.
I don't love it, but
Neither
they're
do
playing
I.
Miami, so they're going to have to. If they score 45, 50 points, which is very possible at Dallas, this is where you jump in and try to get your flex position, try to get that touchdown.
Right.
So I'm okay with Cooper Kupp. I'm okay with Randall Cobb as my flex option.
Yeah. Start the Cowboys defense.
That's probably defense one of the week.
Defense one of the week, in my opinion, in everyone's opinion. Hard to find someone that disagrees with that. And then I think Jason Witten and Blake Jarwin are going to have respectable games for tight ends. They still don't have a clear tight end one, which is worrisome if you're an owner of either of those guys. But
well, they don't really need one because they have Elliott. They leaned on Elliott and Cooper, and Gallup's taken a step forward to be three. So they don't really need Evan Ingram or Kelsey. They just need those.
I know. I'm talking about for fantasy owners. It's worrisome.
Yeah, you can't. I would probably start.
I like Witten.
I would start Witten over Jarwin because Witten is just. He's kind of like a Jimmy Graham in the sense where
he's trying to make people forget about how bad
he's capped off in the 30, 40 receiving yards, but he's a red zone option, and that's you could be starting a lot worse options at tight end that way.
He's doing a great job of making sure people forget about his terrible Monday Night Football gig.
Well, where's he going to be next year? Because he looks so slow. I don't think he's playing football next year.
Well, no,
I think
this
is back in the booth.
This is going to be a swan song. Well, I don't know if he might do a talk show. He might do
he might
one of
join
those
our podcast.
Oh yeah,
Jason Witten flying in from Dallas.
Season 2. Next game we're gonna get into Cincinnati, the Bengals at the Bills. This is not a good matchup for the Bengals offense. I think this is another week where Joe Mixon struggles. He has not looked good through weeks 1 and 2. I think this trend continues. Next week I think would be a good bye week for buying low on Joe Mixon. Talking about the rest of the offense, AJ Green is still not playing. John Ross has looked pretty good, but I think this is a week where he struggles because he's going up against Tre'Davious White. Do you know how Tyler Boyd's been doing? I don't.
Yeah, Boyd is getting that 6 to 8 receptions a week and 80 to 100 yards receiving. He had a good week last week. He had over 100 yards receiving. So Boyd is low end wide receiver too.
Yeah,
in any format. He's reliable. So
he's getting this, and he's going to be in the slot, so he won't be matched up against like the great
they
corners.
move Boyd around a lot. He's kind of playing that role that Schuster's played his first 2 years in Pittsburgh, where he's not relied on to be the outside guy,
right?
But they're keeping him what his role was last year, and that's a positive for your Tyler Boyd owner because that gives you more receptions.
Right. If he lines up on the outside, it's not a good good matchup for him.
Tre'Davious White is a really good cornerback, and I think
number 2 guy,
like I said, I think
too.
John Ross will probably get a lot of Tre'Davious White, and John Ross isn't going to sneak up on anyone now. This is back-to-back weeks where he's had a deep touchdown, so the Bills are a good coaching staff.
Yeah.
A lot of people think of the Bills and they think of like they're just a horrible organization, but they're actually a pretty respectable team, and they got a really good defense. They got ascending offense, and I think this is a tough spot for Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati's offense with Zach Taylor, their new head coach, but I'm down on Joe Mixon this week. This is not a great matchup. He hasn't looked good so far. Here's a couple names I'd throw out there that I would start over him. If I had, obviously like a guy like Eckler who you drafted later on in the draft, Eckler. I would probably even go with Duke Johnson this week over him.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Especially in PPR.
I
would start Miles Sanders over him this week.
Agreed.
So there's options out there that I would start over Mixon. Mixon to me is a borderline flex option for me this week because it's not even like he looks bad, but he's not really getting the work.
Yeah.
And obviously it's because he had that ankle issue, but he's going to be fine season long, borrowing some significant injury, but this week is not a good matchup for him.
I hear you. Going into the Bills offense, I think this is going to be a good week for Josh Allen. I wrote about him in my column this week on Pog's Block. I think this is, Cincinnati defense has not looked pretty good. And yes, they run the ball a good amount, but the amount they have been throwing the ball, John Brown looks good for that team. So I think this is going to be a good matchup for Josh Allen. Like I said, John Brown has been playing well for Buffalo. I think he's another good, solid, flex option, wide receiver too, if you're lacking in that department. And then the running backs, I still don't know the running back situation. Frank Gore has been
Singletary is I don't quote me on this, but I think he's out for this week. So Frank Gore is definitely someone you want to consider. If he's on probably most waiver wires. If you haven't already picked him up, make sure you go check waiver wires because he's got a great matchup this week.
Yeah.
And while I'm saying that, Garrett's looking up Frank Gore.
No, I'm looking up Singletary, making sure he's
in front of Devontae Freeman.
He's questionable, which probably means he won't play. But
yeah, I think Frank Gore's in for a good spot here. This is a good plug and play for Frank Gore. It's a good matchup. The Bills run the ball.
If he gets a majority of the carries, I think he could easily get a
Yeldon's
touchdown.
in that backfield, but Yeldon's a receiving back. So
yeah,
I think Gore easily I think it's a good matchup. They'll be leading. They're going to run the ball. I think Gore's going to be someone. Gore's safe for 18+ carries, I think, this week.
Yeah, and he's someone you can find on a lot of waiver wires. So if you need a running back to start, that's definitely someone you could look to. And then
their passing game options, John Brown to me is a strong flex option.
Yeah,
he's one of the better flex options. Cole Beasley, I'm not high on.
I'm not high on any of the Bills receivers over there besides.
Yeah,
John Brown's
I would go with Allen, quarterback one. I'd
agree.
go with Frank Gore to me is, he's a low end RB2 with just the volume's going to make him good. I think he'll roll in the end zone. And John Brown to me is a strong flex option. Other than that, I'm not very interested in the Bills offense.
I agree. Going to the next game, the Detroit Lions at the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hey, we forgot to get into who we think's going to win the games or not.
You're right.
Let's quickly go through this. So
Cowboys win.
You're picking the Dolphins. I'm picking the Cowboys.
Nope. We're both all right.
We're both
Cowboys.
Taking the Cowboys.
And
I'm going to take the Bills at home.
Yeah, Bills will win. Bills will win that game.
All right. So
Lions.
Quick prediction here. I'm taking the Eagles to beat Detroit. Who are you picking?
Oh, let me talk through the game first because I might change my mind as I go through. Going into the Lions offense, Stafford has looked pretty good throughout these first 2 weeks. Obviously, throughout he's thrown 2 interceptions last game, so I don't know if he's a strong option, and especially with the Philadelphia defense, it's not the best in the world, but I think it's good enough to throw Stafford off. I think this is going to be one of the weaker weeks for Kerryon Johnson. I think the Eagles' run defense is better than the pass defense, and so I think they are going to get a whole load of Kerryon this week. He has looked really good throughout the first 2 weeks, but I think this is going to be the first week he's really slowed down, so temper your expectations with him. They've been spreading the ball a lot, so I'm not sure how it looks for guys like Marvin Jones, TJ Hawkinson, Danny Amendola, etc., but I think Kenny Galladay is the only really safe option you can rely on when it comes to passing.
He looks really good.
He does.
And I doubted him. I didn't doubt that he's not a talented guy. To me, I doubted him this year because I thought defenses would lock him down and it'd be Marvin every week. It'd be Marvin Jones, Galladay, Marvin. It could still play that way. It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But Galladay's looked strong last week.
Yeah. And he's the number one option.
He looks like he looks a lot better. As Lions fans, we've seen him play the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Or 2 years. This is his third year. And he just looks better. He's going up and he's going to get those balls that are 50-50. And Stafford is showing confidence. That touchdown that ended up their game-winning touchdown.
Right.
That was he threw it up there and Galladay went up and beat the cornerback. So Galladay looks very strong.
I agree. And if you're weak at tight end, Hawkinson might be, a start that you could hope to get like 2-3 receptions and maybe a touchdown in there. And that's the Lions offense. Do you have anything to add on that? Or?
I'm concerned, obviously, with Johnson this week. It's a tough matchup at Philadelphia.
I agree.
They stymied, they just look really good on defense. Not their secondary, but their
Not the
front
secondary.
seven is very good. Fletcher Cox is one of the better run defensive stuffers in the league, and they got a good linebacking corps. Like they're
Yeah, I know.
They got a good linebacking group.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
The passing game, yeah, Galladay to me is wide receiver 1 this week.
I agree.
Low end wide receiver 1 because their second. Philadelphia is one of the 5 worst secondaries in the league, and that's why they're in on the rumors of trading for Ramsey because their defensive secondary is bad.
Well, now that I've talked myself, do you think Stafford's a good throw-in option?
Stafford to me is he's in that 11 to 14 area for a quarterback. So he's either low end quarterback 1, high end 2. So yeah, he's definitely starting this week.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your waiver wire looks like, but if you're one of these guys who lost, Cam Newton, Drew Brees, Big Ben, I think he's someone that you could.
He's probably owned in probably 60 to 70% of leagues. He's not 100%. So
I know.
Definitely check the waivers, and obviously, if he's owned, then I'm not trading a lot to get him.
Oh no, neither am I.
But if he's available, I think he's in that 11 to 14. This is a good matchup here.
I agree.
Not a great secondary for the Eagles. Garrett, I'm more high on Miles Sanders than I am Jordan Howard.
I agree. He got good reps in last week, didn't he?
Yeah, he's still not averaging a lot of yards per carry, but he looks better than he's actually produced.
They've shown commitment to him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Carson Wentz, if he plays, I'm starting Carson Wentz. He's just too good of a talent.
Yep.
The wide receiver group, Alshon Jeffrey might miss this week.
Deshaun Jackson's definitely missing.
Was out a couple weeks. He was out, so I've already picked up Aguilar in one of my leagues. He's a good option.
He's probably going to be a good flex option. I would guess that he's the number 2 receiving option behind Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is a must start every week, of course.
That definitely bumps up Zach Ertz. That Jackson and Jeffrey were out last week. So
yeah, and if the Lions decide they want to use their linebacking group to cover Zach Ertz, then I think that makes for a better matchup for. Of course it makes a better matchup, but I think that makes Zach Ertz possibly tight end 1 this week.
Yeah, Aguilar last week, he had 11 targets, 8 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. So that's a very good week. And that also includes the drop touchdown pass at the end of the game. He dropped that.
Right.
If you were watching the game, he dropped a touchdown down the sidelines. It's a beautiful throw. That is a walk-in touchdown. They take the lead and they could walk away with the win.
Yeah, and the thing is that was with Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey getting hurt at the beginning of the game. He didn't know that he was going to be in that position.
Yeah.
Now that he's had a full week to prepare, the mindset, the intangibles are starting to work. So I think that benefits Aguilar more than it does the line secondary.
Yeah, like you said on Zach Ertz, really quick. He was targeted 16 times. That's very good.
And that's only going to go up, I think.
And it wasn't a very efficient week because he only had 8 catches. That's a good week for tight ends. But when you get targeted 16 times.
In PPR, that's 8 points, yeah.
Right, but he only caught 50% of the target. So that's a little disappointing. When you get targeted 16 times, you want to get in the double digits. He had 72 yards, and he had a 2-point conversion. So, yeah, fire him up as a top 3 option at tight end.
I think he's the number 1 tight end this week.
He could be, but you still can't sleep on Ingram or Kelsey. Those guys are still.
Yeah.
They could.
Ingram will do well. We'll get into him later. So that's the Eagles' offense. So you said you're going to take the Eagles to win?
Yeah, I'm picking the Eagles.
You know what? I'm going to ride. I'm going to ride with my guys. I'm riding with the Lions.
All right. So I've already got the lead.
Next game, the New York Jets at the New England Patriots. I don't know if there's a single. Actually, Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell had 30 touches last week, and this is when we were doing the
carrying the offense.
When we were doing the pre-draft rankings, right? And we ranked, and people were like, "Why is he?" I had him I think he was 5th in my pre-draft ranking.
He was 9th in mine, and you got upset at me.
But I've said, this is the offense, okay? If your player in fantasy football gets 30 touches. He didn't have the touchdown, but that was a rough week, right? There was no one else on offense. He had a 3rd-string quarterback. That was a rough week.
It's the same scenario this week, though.
Yeah, but still, the touches will make him. You have to play Le'Veon Bell. He's almost a lock for 100 yards because he's going to get 20-plus touches this week. And, people may say, well, another week without a touchdown. It doesn't matter. He had 30 touches, right? He had 10 receptions.
He has the opportunity to.
He had 10 receptions.
Right.
In PPR, that is money in the bank. That's Christian McCaffrey, right?
Right.
So I'm still high on Le'Veon Bell.
Do you
It
think,
doesn't matter if they have a third-string quarterback. Le'Veon Bell is starting for me.
you think Eli Manning gets traded over there?
No way. Not across.
No way.
Not across the locker room.
Across the league. All right. So that's a Jets offense.
I'm not starting Anderson or any of the other receivers with their third-string quarterback there.
As long as Sam Darnold is out, I would not start
Just
any.
a quick note here. Their tight end, Chris Herndon, at the beginning of the year was suspended 4 weeks.
Yep.
Right? He is eligible to come back week 5. I've already went forward and I've picked him up in the league.
You think he does good coming off the...
Not with their third-string quarterback. But,
Okay.
Sam Darnold will come back from this with his thing. But,
Mono.
But Sam Darnold targeted Chris Herndon. He targeted him a lot when he was last year's rookie. Herndon, to me, especially with his tight end fluctuations where Jared Cook or whoever you got is not producing, Chris Herndon's definitely a good option. He is a young ascending tight end in the league. And when Sam Darnold comes back, it should coincide with when Herndon gets off the suspension. So if you are weak at tight end, I would go pick up Herndon. He's suspended now, but it will be
It'll be beneficial later.
But as a passing game, no, I'm starting only Le'Veon Bell on the Jets.
That's it.
And on the Patriots, I'm starting everyone.
Everyone?
Well, what I mean by everyone is someone's going to ask me, do you start Josh Gordon? Josh Gordon, to me, is going to work his way in my lineup. If it's wide receiver 2 or flex, he's going to be in my lineup.
Okay.
He just is. He's too good of a player.
I think he caps out as a flex player, personally.
But he'd still be in the lineup.
I would agree.
Antonio Brown, I just said I would still high on him. If he plays, I'm still starting him.
Wide receiver 2.
Right. I'm still playing Antonio Brown against anyone if he's playing on the Patriots.
You're not in a situation where you own all 3 receivers.
Edelman, I'm starting. I like him more in PPR
Wide
because
receiver 1.
I don't think the touchdowns are there anymore with all these options. But he's still 7-8 catches. That'll get you that floor.
Tom Brady will do good.
I'm starting Michelle because the
agree.
game script will be there. He had a good game last week against the
New York
Dolphins.
Jets' run defense is good. I think they're going to switch it up enough where they'll keep them on their toes. They're also going to try to run out the clock. That's the Patriot way.
Yeah.
So I think, there's going to be James White, Rex Burkhead. They're going to have all these different running
that's
backs.
what I mean. I think you can play any of these guys. Right?
Yeah.
And,
so,
Burkhead to me, flex option.
Yep.
James White, flex option. Better in PPR.
Yep.
So you're starting basically all your Patriots. Unless they're all on your team, I'm not starting them all, right?
Right.
If you went all Patriots, then no. Okay. But I'm starting every Patriot. It just depends on your situation. Yeah.
I hear
you. Who are you picking this game? I'm taking the Patriots.
So am I.
You didn't want to get cute and go with the Jets here, like
Luke Falk and next game we're gonna go Atlanta Falcons at the Indianapolis Colts. Atlanta Falcons offense looked good against the
Eagles,
the Philadelphia Eagles. The Colts defense not the best in the world. Similar situation but I think the Colts passing defense is better than their run defense. Julio Jones is going to do amazing. I think Matt Ryan's disappointed a little bit, hasn't he? He's not.
He played better last week, but better. He still had 3 interceptions. I don't know. He's kind of like he looks like confused almost. Like against the Eagles, he threw it just looked like he was off a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's still, to me, a quarterback 1.
You think
he's
so?
He's going to throw the ball 30 times a week, every week. It's not like he's capped out where, you could start Cousins now when he could throw 15 times, right?
Yeah, they pass a lot more than they run.
To me, Matt Ryan is a quarterback 1 every week. You drafted him to be a quarterback 1. This is not a matchup that scares me. It's on the road. I think the Colts are respectable. It's not going to be a blowout, so they're going to have to keep passing to stay in the game. I think Matt Ryan, 300 passing yards is pretty attainable.
Well, I picked him to be my QB3. I think he's the QB3 this year.
Well, that's not crazy because it's only been 2 weeks. So
that's a good point.
Still a long way. Overreaction is what hurts people a lot. They move off players and they, a lot of things.
Freeman, like we mentioned earlier, the Colts defense, run defense is not nearly as good as their passing defense. So I think Freeman, this is going to be a good game for him. You would hope that he gets more touches than Ito Smith. But we'll just have to see if that's the case. If this is another 50-50 week, then I think we might have to start talking about, possibly selling Freeman and looking into, what does this mean for him in the future. Calvin Ridley is a good wide receiver 2 or a flex start. Austin Hooper, if you're really low at tight end. You said, he's the third option in that offense. So
Him and Sanu are the third. They're like 3A, 3B in the passing game. So because they haven't involved the running backs like I hope they would. So
start Austin Hooper.
It's not like if you start Austin Hooper, you could be starting a lot worse options.
I hear you.
I'll quickly get into the Atlanta Falcons. To me, Matt Ryan, quarterback 1. Devontae Freeman, right now, to me, he's a flex option. I'm still starting him, but I'm not like throwing him out there, and I'm not confident with it, right? But he's still. This is the last week for me for Freeman. It's kind
of a do or die kind of week.
It's not a terrible matchup, right? It's not the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not at Minnesota. This is the matchup that he should. There's no excuses in this matchup. If he gets outplayed by Ito Smith, that's a real concern. Julio Jones, he's a top 5 play at wide receiver like
every
he
week.
Is most weeks. Calvin Ridley, low-end wide receiver 2. He's played better than I thought.
Yep.
And Hooper, to me, you could start a lot worse at tight end. He's a low-end tight end 1 for me.
Indianapolis Colts, Jacoby Brissett, you said you would pick him off the waivers if you had a bad matchup.
He's a plug-and-play matchup start this week, I think.
I agree. Marlon Mack, I think he'll be all right against the Falcons.
I think he's a mid-tier RB2 just because he's going to get the carries.
Yeah,
he's not a big play in the passing game, like not at all. And
I see him lower end RB2, especially in PPR leagues, because some of those other guys like Duke Johnson will go up above him and stuff. When talking about wide receivers, this is the Colts. It's going to be T.Y. Hilton. He's a wide receiver 1 every single week, and not Dorsett. Who's the guy? He scored a touchdown this past week. He's a rookie.
Paris Campbell.
Possible flex option this week if you're really looking for someone to, if you're really weak at the wide receiver position. He's someone you might want to look for. Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron both have had interesting weeks so far. I think Ebron offers you touchdown potential. I don't think Doyle has played all that well thus far, from what I'm remembering. What I could remember wrong, but
yeah, you're throwing darts at a dartboard with those options at tight end.
Yeah, I agree.
Just hoping one of them rolls in the end zone.
And he and T.Y. Hilton has a better relationship, or not relationship, but I think he is. Jacoby Brissett is better.
He hasn't been affected as much as I thought he would. He's still playing good. He's still a wide receiver.
I think Brissett connects better with the wide receivers than he does the tight ends.
Yeah.
So, there's that for you. Anything you want to add?
Well, I'll just quickly get into this. We talked about Mack. This is what I like about Marlon Mack. And when I talked about him at the beginning when we were doing pre-draft rankings, I had him at 9.
Yeah.
And this was with Andrew Luck. And it's just because he just runs the ball so much. Week 1, he had 25 rush attempts. Week 2, he had 20. So, I average that out. He's at just over 22 rushes a week. That is what I want for my running back. And so he is a solid RB2, like a good RB2. And I'm definitely starting him here. I think 20 carries again happens. Brissett is my, that sleeper quarterback who I think you could plug in this week. A good matchup at home. T.Y. Hilton, wide receiver 2 for me easily. Campbell to me is a flex option. Not a great option, but flex.
Yep.
The tight ends are dart throws if you're desperate. And Nyheim Hines in a PPR league would be a flex option because he's going to catch 5-6 balls. That's what I think. Game prediction, Garrett. Who are you taking in this?
I'm taking the Colts.
All right, I am going to take the Atlanta Falcons on the road.
Another split. Next game we're going to get into the
Raiders at the Vikings.
Yes, I almost said Vegas Raiders, but they're not Vegas yet. So Raiders offense, it's not the best. Derek Carr is not going to play well.
Not a good start. You're not starting Derek Carr this week.
Jacobs won't be a good play either.
Jacobs is banged up, so he was on the injury report, and he had a illness. So I think it's leaning towards Josh Jacobs plays. He's active, but he's not going to be.
I wouldn't start him.
Right. What I'm saying is he might be active, but it may be one of those things where he gets 6-7 touches, not a 20-touch game.
I hear you.
I think he might. If he is active, I'm still worried. This is like the one where Joe Mixon was active last week, but he wasn't 100%. So I would be concerned with Josh Jacobs.
Agreed.
I'm not concerned with him long term, but this is not a good matchup. I'm not starting Josh Jacobs this week unless you're desperate at running back.
Yeah.
You'd have to be really desperate. The wide receivers.
Tyrell Williams.
I'm not starting Williams this week.
He's borderline flex.
I like Williams.
Flex option, I think.
He's played okay so far, but it's not a great matchup at Minnesota.
No, it's not.
I think this is it's gonna get ugly, I think.
Darren Waller, I'm gonna write about him in my bad starts for week 3. He's looked good the first 2 weeks. He's not gonna look good in this week, so I would not start Darren Waller if I were you.
Here's I just got an update on Josh Jacobs. So just his diagnosis here, it says
Little alert.
It says Josh Jacobs' groin, said that he also has been sick and lost 10 pounds this week.
Yikes.
Which isn't great. Let me just skim through this real quick. I don't know. Yeah, so he had a groin injury and he's apparently he's lost weight. So that's 2 negatives. I'm not. I like Jacobs long term, but I'm not starting him this week.
Not this week.
Bad
no.
matchup. The Vikings. I'm not starting Cousins.
No, not anymore.
I'm not. Oh yeah, I am. I'm starting. For some reason, I had a brain fart. I'm starting Adam Thielen, wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
Not a wide receiver 1 because this week could be better. Though,
him and Diggs are going to be wide receiver 2.
I just think this offense is run heavy now, and that's
Yeah.
just concerning. Diggs to me is, like I said last week, he's a flex option this week.
Okay.
If he didn't have that big touchdown, it would have been a dud for Stephon Diggs. He's a
Right.
better receiver than his fantasy would suggest. If he was on a different team, I'd be all over him. But he's on a team that he's a second receiving option, and he's a third option on offense because Dalvin Cook he's the number 1 option. Not starting Rudolph. He had a donut.
He had a donut.
Alexander
I like that.
Madison. Alexander Madison's someone that you definitely want to have on your team because as much as I like Dalvin Cook and
He's getting carries.
Well, even that, but he's a great handcuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't like seeing players get hurt, but Dalvin Cook has an injury history, and if he goes down, Alexander Madison...
And they're running Cook to the ground, too.
Right.
So,
and if Alexander Madison, if he gets the RB1 role, he is going to be a good running back in fantasy. He looks good. And I'm not concerned with Amir Abdullah in that backfield, so if anything happens to Dalvin Cook, it's going to be Madison. So if you already got him in a draft or picked him up, or if he's available, go pick him up. Because even though Dalvin Cook looks amazing right now, week 9 or 10, he could get hurt.
I agree.
Right? Because he doesn't have a track record of staying healthy. And so you hope he stays healthy, but to me, Dalvin Cook RB1 easily.
Yeah.
Madison would be... I think he could get action here because they could be wanting to preserve Cook, and if they're up by 3 touchdowns, they could give Madison extra looks. So I think you could play Madison as a flex.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. I'd have to see Dalvin Cook go down before I play Madison in any role personally. I agree with you on most of that. Big disappointment if you thought Kirk Cousins was going to be good this year, I think. And to any, and it's the same thing for the receivers as well. Because we both thought that they were going to be, big options, big, low end wide receiver 1s, high end wide receiver 2. Yeah. But the offense is just.
They're running the ball more than I imagined it happening.
And Cousins sucks.
Yeah,
Cousins
he does not
look good.
And I saw a joke on the internet. It says, most people have the $5 to $7 million game manager at quarterback. Just like the Brian Hoyers or the
right.
Like just don't lose us the game.
Right.
And they said
now
Kirk Cousins holding a sign with $84 million game manager. Need help or help wanted. Do you need this guy?
Jeez.
And so he's definitely. This is not good. I think the Vikings are kind of shaking their heads that they gave him this much money because Case Keenum in this offense with a lot less price tag on him, or a lot less years, I should say.
He played so much. He played great that year.
They would be better off with Case Keenum because they wouldn't be tied to 3 years guaranteed $80 million. They could go year by year with Case Keenum. And I
don't know how much money he's getting over in Washington, but yeah, you're right.
They made a mistake signing him to that, and I think a lot of people fell in the trap. He looked pretty good with the Redskins in his career. That's because they didn't have a great running game, and they had to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So his numbers got bulged, but Cousins to me not a start here. Game prediction here, I am definitely taking Minnesota here.
So am I.
This is almost like other than the Dolphins losing the Cowboys, this is pretty much a lock for me.
I agree.
0 upset alert.
Yep. Going to the next game, Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. I think this is the most interesting matchup of the entire week. The Ravens offense, Lamar Jackson has looked amazing. I think he's going to continue to do that against the Chiefs defense, which isn't the best in the world. Mark Ingram has looked a lot better than I thought. I didn't put him in my top 25. Probably should have, because he's played pretty good and he's had a few touchdowns to back that up. There's another running back I think has been doing well. Hollywood Brown looking great for a rookie wide receiver. I think he's playing the best out of all the rookie wide receivers so far. And Willie Snead, I don't know why I'm mentioning him because I don't know what he's done.
Well, he's an option because they're in Kansas City, and they're gonna. For how much we want to love the Ravens, they're not gonna stop the Kansas City Chiefs.
I agree.
Right? They gave up. The Ravens, they gave up, what was it? They were the Cardinals were in the game late into the fourth quarter against the Ravens, right? You're going to Arrowhead Stadium. To me, it's a tough matchup, and I'm definitely starting Lamar Jackson because the rushing's there, right? If he has he struggles a little bit, he's still going to run the ball a lot. He had 120 rush yards last week. They're all on top of 250 passing, so he's definitely a start. You talk about Hollywood Brown, I like. Mark Ingram, I'm okay with. I don't love the matchup.
I think he's an RB2.
You're not concerned at all that they're going to be game scripted out, and Lamar Jackson may run.
You think so?
I think it could be a game. I have zero concern with the Kansas City Chiefs scoring the ball.
Well, neither do I, but I don't think.
I like Ingram,
it's not going to be nearly as frequent as what you're
but
saying.
I don't think it's going to be tie ball game going to the fourth quarter.
You don't think so?
No.
It's a lot closer. All right. We just have different opinions about what.
So I would start Mark Ingram as a flex option, but there's probably better options for you out there. You talked about Mark Andrews. I love him.
Mark Andrews
I was lower on him
great.
at the start of the year. You kind of talked about him at the beginning of the year.
I had him at number 10 for my tight ends.
But you still had him higher than I did, and so you were right on that. So I got to give you props on that. Hollywood Brown, this is what I like about it. Last week 1, he only had 5 targets, right? But he had that big 147 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Last week he had 13 targets, so that's what I like to see. It's still a good week. 8 catches, 86 yards, which is a good week.
Yeah.
But
in between weeks 1 and 2,
that is the 13 targets. So he jumped from 5 to 13.
In between week 1 and 2, they're like, "Hey, this guy Hollywood Brown, we need to give him the ball."
Yeah, but I think he's a part of that offense now.
Yeah, he is.
Coming into the year, he had a concern with his injury. Didn't know how much he'd play, but he looks good. So he's a flex option for me.
I agree. Going into Chiefs offense, listen. Now you think this is going to be a blowout?
Are you starting Patrick Mahomes?
Of course, I'm starting Patrick Mahomes.
You're not concerned at all?
I am concerned, but he's not going to be he's not going to be a QB1, right? Or not like the QB1 for the week. I think he's going to be
he's middle. The QB1 of the first quarter. You see, second quarter against the Raiders, he had 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah, that's the Raiders. That's the Ravens we're talking about.
And then they just basically got bored, and they didn't score the rest of the game. They literally got bored. It's kind of like let's just put it this way. It's like a basketball player, like let's just say like a 20-year-old basketball player, right? And he's playing against his younger brother, and he knows he's gonna win, right? So he's just gonna mess with him, and that's kind of what Patrick Mahomes did last week.
That's what the Chiefs have been doing to these teams.
He literally could have scored another 3 more touchdowns, but he was like that older brother, and he just messed with his younger brother, and they won. Yeah, it was like that game where they knew they were going to win going into the game, and they were just bored. There's no motivation.
I don't think it's the same thing this week. Ravens defense is a very good, very respectable defense. I would temper your expectations with Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to be middle tier.
Temper your expectations with Mahomes.
I think he's going to be.
Kyler Murray threw for 300 yards in Baltimore. You would temper your expectations with Mahomes? I think I changed his mind. I think I just changed his mind again.
He's gonna be middle tier QB1.
Middle tier.
I think so.
All right.
The running back situation over there.
It's hard to trust any of them.
Yeah.
If one of them had that role in there singularly, the guy, you could do it. But Damian Williams, LaShawn McCoy, Darwin Thompson, I think Thompson's going to be getting more involved here because McCoy's banged up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't love any of them because it's kind of like their passing game where, you went out and you picked up McCole Hardman, or you had Sammy Watkins, you thought another 150 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
Robinson comes out and goes. So that's what it
That's
feels
what I
like
was saying last week.
I love the Chiefs offense, but it sucks when you're sitting there, you're like looking at the box score, and you're like, well,
who do I trust?
Why does Robinson have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns? And I got Kelsey, and he's got, 3 targets. So
right.
It's just like, it's hard, The guy, the safest guy, probably the safest tight end in fantasy football is Travis Kelsey.
Yeah.
Because he plays with Mahomes, and there's just very little risk there. So I'm starting Kelsey. I'm starting their receivers.
Yeah, if you
even as a baseline flex, I'm starting all their receivers.
Yeah, if you have any of those guys as like Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson make good flex options. Hard to trust any of the running backs. I think at most you'll have Williams as an RB2, maybe a flex. I don't know.
Let's get into who we think is going to win. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I like the Ravens. I respect them, but they beat the Miami Dolphins and the Arizona Cardinals. I think they're in for a little reality check here. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Well, because, you know what? I think this game's a little closer than what you think. I'm going to take the Ravens.
You're picking the Ravens?
I'm taking the Ravens on this one.
Road in
Arrowhead
Stadium.
I think Lamar Jackson's legit. I don't know.
I'm not disputing that I don't think Lamar Jackson's good, but there's difference between playing Miami and playing Arizona,
Kansas City,
and then jumping at Kansas City. It's not like it's a home matchup where they, the home crowd and all that could get.
And I'm not saying they're gonna blow them out like they did,
Well, they're definitely Miami. Not blowing out the Chiefs. If they blow out the Chiefs, I will relinquish anything I know about football and I'll just be done because I would.
Well, I think people would be in the same boat as you because that's.
If they win at all, it's gonna be barely. Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a really close game. I think Lamar Jackson.
So I'm literally off to a hot start here because
a minute 30 left on the clock. Lamar Jackson.
You gave me the Chiefs. This is an easy win. Listen, I've already had.
There's 16 teams. There's 32 teams, 16 games a week, for the most part.
All right, we don't need to discuss this because we already know I picked. I got the right matchup. The Broncos at the Packers. Panthers. The Packers. The Broncos. I'm not starting Joe Flacco. Just let me make this short and sweet. I'm starting Emmanuel Sanders. I talked about him. I've talked about him numerously because I like Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
And I drafted him in the 12th round. He looks just like he did when he played with Peyton Manning. He looks great. He's
good flex
8 months removed from an ACL injury. Will you believe that?
Yeah.
How improved the surgeries and technology has come to where this guy he's 30 something years old and he's off an ACL injury and he looks great. He doesn't look hampered at all. And so Sanders to me is a high flex op. Probably you could even
a high flex option.
Put him in a wide receiver 2 role because the targets are there. Joe Flacco trusts the veteran guy more than he trusts Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton's a barely,
I like Sutton, but
barely a flex option. I think I like him too.
Sutton has upside because he's a bigger receiver and he could have a couple touchdowns. He's got upside, but I'm going with Emmanuel Sanders. To me, is 10 targets a week, and
Sutton's looked good the past 2 weeks too.
Yeah, I wouldn't start Sutton in this matchup because it's at Green Bay. It's not great, but I'm definitely starting Sanders.
Yeah, Sutton barely a flex option. For the running backs, both.
I don't love either of the running backs. This is not a great matchup.
Yeah.
You seen what they did with Chicago Bears running backs? I just don't love it this week.
Neither do I.
The Packers offense. To me, I'm starting Aaron Rodgers.
So is everyone else.
I've seen people are almost thrown off, trying to get too cute and put Rodgers on the bench. And for this week, they think the Denver has just some great defense. I'm not concerned with their passing defense.
Neither am I.
I like Chubb and Von Miller off the edge, but their
passing defense is good, but I don't think it's good enough to.
I'm not concerned.
Aaron Rodgers.
This is in Lambeau Field.
I agree. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers in for a big week. Devontae Adams showed last week that he's still a stud after that dud of a week.
Start him. Yeah.
He had a really good week. Allison
had that touchdown.
And so I talked about how I was shaky on Allison and Valdez-Scantling, and that's kind of why, because Allison showed last week he could play that role.
Yeah. I think you said both of them this week.
Both those guys, to me, I actually think they're flex options.
They could be.
Aaron Jones looked great last week. To me, he's a good running back 2 this week.
Against the run defense of the Broncos?
He played Minnesota last week, and
that's a good
I don't have
point.
the numbers exactly in front of me, but he had
Minnesota's
over 20 carries,
defense.
over 100 yards rushing, and a touchdown. And the best thing of all is he was involved in the passing game.
Yeah.
So Aaron Jones, this is the guy I had upside on. He was my 17th running back in pre-draft rankings, and he was there with Kerryon Johnson and Jacobs, and I said this guy has upside, and so he showed last week that he is.
If he did that against the Vikings, I think he could easily.
Yeah, this is a softer matchup compared to the Vikings, so I like Aaron Jones in this matchup.
Jimmy Graham, can't ever trust him.
He's another
dart throw.
Yep. What are your thoughts on Rodgers, real quick, Devontae Adams, and the other receivers?
Yeah, I agree with you, everything you said. And I don't want to get too much into it because we're an hour 5 minutes deep in this thing. So
I'm taking the Packers to win this game.
Yeah, I'll take the Packers too. Going into the
picks the same. He just follows my lead.
Going into the next game, the 4:00 games. Carolina Panthers at the Arizona Cardinals.
Important thing to note here: Cam Newton
will not play.
Will not play or probable not. To
right now, it says probable not to play.
Okay, so don't say will not play until it happens. But it looks like Cam Newton is
not going
doubtful for Week 3.
He's not.
And so this definitely hurts Curtis Samuel.
Yep.
DJ Moore.
Yep.
Greg Olsen, it hurts because Greg Olsen's Cam's favorite target. The only guy that you're still able to play is McCaffrey.
I agree.
But I'm not jumping up and down on McCaffrey. I think, I'm still starting him. I think he'll have a good week, but this
against the Cardinals defense.
Christian McCaffrey is not the same running back with,
Kyle Allen.
Yeah, with Kyle Allen or Will Grier there. He is better off with Cam Newton. If you're a McCaffrey owner, you better hope Newton gets better, healthier, or plays later in the season.
Because when Newton goes down, and we saw it, last week with Tampa Bay, when he goes down, the entire offense just looks
it affects everyone. It affects McCaffrey, but you're still playing McCaffrey to me.
Right. And Kyle Allen, didn't play.
Intrigued.
Well, neither am I, but he didn't play all that bad last time. Isn't there?
The Cardinals, I like Murray.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's a QB1.
Okay.
At home. He's comfortable now. Week 1 against the Lions, he started out. He's kind of a little bit up and down, rusty.
Yeah.
Week 2 at Baltimore, he threw for 300 yards. No, he's not like turning the ball over like a machine. He looks good. The only concern for me is he's not running the ball as much as I thought he would.
Okay.
And running's not like he's not a pure runner like Lamar Jackson, but running's part of his game, and he's not running. And that's kind of what you draft him in fantasy. You thought he would run for you as well, and he's not doing that. To me, he's a QB1. I like Larry Fitzgerald. I like Christian Kirk. You could
both
start
flex
both
options.
Those guys. Yep. David Johnson. He got banged up last week. If he plays, I'm starting David Johnson.
Is there a chance he won't play?
I think it's almost certain that he plays. I don't
right.
think. If he's on the injury report, I think he's playing this week.
Yeah, I would still.
Because he did return
still.
to the game last week, so he
right.
may be on the injury report, but you got to check that obviously. But he's probably playing.
I would agree.
Game prediction here. I'm taking.
Well, first I'll throw it out there. I don't think Murray does. I think Murray's.
You're not as high on Murray.
He's a high QB2. I think. I think the Panthers' pass defense gets overlooked, but I think he'll play all right against, and I think he runs the ball a little bit more against the Panthers because he hasn't shown it a lot, like you said. But I think this is the week where it's like, all right, now you've seen my first trick. Let me show you my my main event, and he shows off his legs.
I'm taking the Cardinals in this one.
I'll take the Cardinals too.
All right, what's up next?
New York Giants at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Daniel Jones' debut.
Game of the week. Everybody's looking to.
Well, there'll be a lot of people watching because it's the New York.
Daniel Jones' first
start. It's the
start.
New York environment, and it's Daniel Jones, their rookie, their future, their franchise. So
yeah.
This game will get a lot of views.
I think Daniel Jones. I think this is going to be a really interesting week because if he plays well against the Bucs, I don't know who the Giants play next, but if he plays really well that week, then he's going to be a solid plug and play, waiver wire flex option, right? So
I think a lot of people that are desperate at quarterback, if he plays well this week, they're definitely going to be trying to get him. So if you are desperate, you might want to go get him before you have to use a waiver wire battle for him on waivers.
And Tampa Bay defense, not the best in the world. Yeah, they slowed down, Carolina, but Cam Newton was hurt, so you can't really,
I think you could play Tampa Bay's defense because it is a rookie playing. He could get jittery. He could throw.
I hear you.
He played well in the preseason. Now he's got to go against Ndamukong Suh. He's got to go against these guys that are professionals. Right. The guys he went against preseason are probably not on rosters. So.
Yeah, run a center. Saquon's always a start.
Ingram's a start.
Ingram, I think he has a better week this week.
If Shepard plays, I'm starting him as a flex. Nothing more than that.
I wouldn't because I think he's hurt. Even if he does play, I think he's going to be more of a decoy than he is an actual target.
I like Winston this week.
I agree.
Another waiver wire option that someone may have dropped him. He's got a great matchup. The Giants' defense is horrible.
Yikes, yeah.
And so Winston's in for a good week. I like Mike Evans, wide receiver 1 for me.
I think
like Godwin.
Godwin's a wide receiver 1 too.
You think it's a wide receiver? And this you know what? That's not crazy because they're playing the Giants.
Yeah,
I could go with that.
And one thing I saw on Twitter, Chris Godwin is out snapping.
Yeah, Godwin looks really good, and this is the guy last year I talked about, and we didn't have this podcast last year, but last year I told people I knew about him, and I picked him up myself, and he played good last year, and he looks like a number 1 receiver in football, and he just plays with Mike Evans. To me, he's a wide receiver 2 right now, and this is a matchup where he could be in the top 12, so I can't argue with you there. I'm worried about O.J. Howard.
You think so?
I'm still starting him this week because it's the Giants. But if he doesn't produce this week,
this is kind of a make or break week.
Cut bait with O.J. Howard. They did not get him heavily involved in the offense last week. He only had 1 target, and the target he was called for pass interference. So I was high on O.J. Howard to start the year. So was I. And this has got to be it for him. If he doesn't play well, I am cutting bait with O.J. Howard.
I agree.
And I'm not starting. I would start Peyton Barber as a flex. Because look what he did last week against the Panthers. Point. I think this game.
But my thing is like, look at what Ronald Jones did week 1. Like he looked a lot better than Peyton Barber week 1. So it's like you really can't trust either of those guys in my opinion.
I mean, you could play him at flex because the matchup is so good. So to me, they're flex. I would start him at flex. Game prediction here.
Who do you want to pick?
You know what? For this game, I'm not going to get cute and go with upsets. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers.
So, now it looks like
I'm not picking to be crazy off the board. I'm picking to be accurate. I'm taking the Buccaneers here. And I don't think I picked a game where I'm going to be wrong. So, I might be, 12-0 after this week?
If you get if you get every game right this week, I'll concede.
The Saints at the Seahawks.
I'll go with the Bucs too before.
Quickly here. It looks like it's crazy to sound like this, but it looks like they're going to split snaps at quarterback. Taysom Hill and Teddy Bridgewater could be split snaps at quarterback. I don't start either of those guys because I can't trust one of them to get
Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill has the ability to run with his legs as well, too. So I think if you had to pick,
I'm not starting him.
Well, neither am I. But like after this week, and people will see after this week, he is someone who could easily be like a read option kind of guy with him and Alvin Kamara.
Kamara, to me, I'm starting him, but he gets downgraded without Drew Brees just because the touchdowns won't come that much anymore. Michael Thomas, to me, he's still a good start. Jared Cook, to me, don't love him, but if you're desperate at tight end, you might play him.
I hear you.
I don't like Traquan Smith or Ted Ginn here, so Latavius Murray's not a start either for me. So
I don't think Jared Cook is a start in my opinion. I don't think he's a tight end 1. If you had to start him at a flex, if your league allows tight end flex options, that might be the only spot you could really put him. Otherwise, I wouldn't start him this week.
The Seahawks, I'm starting Russell Wilson.
For sure.
He looks great. And I keep saying he's so underrated. People used to think the running game just carries them, and they do run the ball a lot, but he's just a great quarterback. Doesn't turn the ball over. He's over 70% completions.
Yeah.
And he just wins games. He's just a winner. I'm starting Russell Wilson. I'm starting Chris Carson.
Chris Carson looks good.
Penny looked good last week. I'm starting him.
You think so?
Yeah, Penny looked real good. He had a long touchdown run.
Okay.
You can start both those guys. Penny, to me, I'm starting Penny as like a flex option.
Penny's a flex. I think Carson's an RB2 this week.
Lockett, to me, is a low-end wide receiver 2.
He's a flex.
It's a good matchup.
He's a flex
It's at home against New Orleans, not a great secondary. I could see a deep ball here.
Their secondary,
Metcalf, to me, is... I liked what I saw last week, but to me, flex option at best right now until I see more.
I agree. But Metcalf, he's getting more snaps than any other wide receiver. I think they're really making him the wide receiver 1, which I thought would happen later in the season. It's happening a lot earlier than what I projected, but I think if he does well this week against the New Orleans Saints, I think this is like what'll solidify him being the number 1 option over in Seattle.
Will Dissly,
Not a good matchup.
Will Dissly is a tight end. I like him this week.
No,
he had 2 touchdowns last week. If you're desperate at tight end, you can definitely put Will Dissly in this week.
I think he's more of a dart throw myself. I don't. Who did the Saints play last week?
The Saints?
They played. Oh my gosh, they played the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I was gonna say they don't do they've guarded tight ends pretty well, but they really haven't had any high,
Yeah.
premier tight ends to go up against.
I like Disley as a tight end this week.
I think he's more of a dart throw, but yeah, you said like if he's someone you're looking to add, then that's.
And we're both starting Wilson. Game prediction here, Garrett. I'll let you go first.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Saints. I think this 2 quarterback option. I think Taysom Hill is a lot better than what people are giving credit for.
You think they're motivated to try to keep afloat while Drew Brees?
Well, I don't think the Seahawks defense is as good as what it once was. I think that's what factors into it as well. Teddy Bridgewater does not look good, but I think this is going to be like at halftime they'll be like, you know what, Taysom Hill, you are the superior guy. We're just going to give it to you and let you go, because he can throw the deep ball, he can run, he's a do it all kind of guy. So yeah, I'm picking the Saints.
This is easy for me. I'm picking Seattle. One reason at all. They have Russell Wilson, and New Orleans has the combination of Teddy Bridgewater, Taysom Hill. That's it for me. I'm taking Russell Wilson. That to me at home, even like if this was in New Orleans, I could see a point where you might go with them, but I'm not picking. I'm not picking against Russell Wilson here. Yeah. The Texans at the Chargers. Deshaun Watson, quarterback 1 for me this week.
I agree.
Duke Johnson, flex option. Carlos Hyde, flex option because of the carries.
Well, if we're going to say Hyde's a flex option, then I think Duke Johnson's an RB2.
Oh, Hyde's look good. I mean, I wouldn't say Duke Johnson's look a lot better than Hyde.
Okay.
Duke Johnson's better in the passing game, but, he wasn't involved heavily in the passing game week 2. So I'm starting Hyde and Duke Johnson as flex options at best. Obviously, Hopkins. He had a bad week last week, but he played against the Jags.
You're always starting Hopkins, yeah.
It's he's a great player. Will Fuller, when healthy, flex option for me.
Agreed.
Kenny Stills, dart throw. He's a deep.
He had that one touchdown week 1, but other than that, it's hard to.
Other than that, I don't really trust any tight ends there. Moving on to the Chargers, Phillip Rivers to me. Low-end quarterback 1, high-end quarterback 2.
I think he's a low-end QB2. I think the Texans' defense is a lot better than what people give it credit for. Austin Eckler, I think, is going to play well. Justin Jackson's a flex option because he had, you said earlier how he had the 40-yard.
He looks good. He looks. To me, if I was running the Chargers, I would have Jackson running the ball more than I would have Eckler running the ball. Eckler's a better passing back, receiving back, but Justin Jackson's bigger than Eckler.
They're both very talented.
And if you just go watch if you just go watch Justin Jackson, we talk about how great of a player Melvin Gordon is and how we'd want to pay him, but you can get away with Jackson and Eckler. And so, to me, I would start Jackson as a flex. Eckler, to me, is a running back 1 until Melvin Gordon returns. Mike Williams, if he plays as a flex, he had 3 catches for 80 yards last week. He's just a big receiver. Yeah. Keenan Allen is a stud. He had a good game against
top 5 receiver, I think, this
the
week.
Lions last week, and he was covered by Slay most of the week.
And he still played well. He played pretty good.
Yeah, and Rivers is force-feeding him the ball, which you love to see if you're an Allen owner, right?
Yeah. No tight ends over there either.
Henry's still not playing, so no.
No. He's out for another 3 to 4 weeks, isn't he?
Yeah, so you're not starting anyone there.
What do you think wins?
I'm going to take the Texans.
I'll take the Chargers.
Okay, we got a different one here. I'm taking the Texans on the road, and you're taking the Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers. I think their offensive
I think it'll be close. I don't think it's blowout either way.
Neither do I. Close. But the Chargers really should have beat the Lions, but their O-line just kept shooting themselves in the foot.
Well, they had the Eckler fumble at the goal line. They had a touchdown, 2 touchdown runs called back. You're right. The Chargers, in my opinion, should have won that game. It should have actually been like 24-10 going into the fourth quarter Chargers way. But they kept shooting themselves in the foot, like you said.
And I don't think that happens again. Like I don't think the Chargers have like discipline issues. You know what I mean? So I don't think that was just
they cost themselves the game more than I think the Lions won. The Lions got very lucky. They missed kicks.
Yeah.
Their kicker, they had their punter kicking for them.
So, that's another good point.
The Chargers are a better team than it looked like. That's a bad week for them, and they're going to be looking back at the end of the year, and they're going to be like, we blew this game.
Yeah.
So I can see you going with the Chargers. The next game, Steelers at Niners.
It's a fun matchup.
This is easy for me. If I'm starting Jalen Samuels, if James Conner's out, James Conner could be out. Doesn't look like
and
it.
He's available on like most waiver wires, I think. So he's someone you could really pick up.
James Conner, to me, if he plays, I'm starting him. I'm not trying to get cute with that. Mason Rudolph, I'm not starting.
No.
I'm not starting James Washington or Dante Moncrief.
No, not yet.
To me, Vance McDonald, respectable tight end. He had a touchdown.
Vance McDonald, I think, and I wrote about this on Pog's blog. He is someone who I think is, I think he's in the top 5 or 6 tight ends this week. I think
he could be,
because he was targeted the most when Mason Rudolph came in. Now Mason Rudolph spread the ball a lot, but I think he's someone who could easily just go, 6 receptions for like 80 yards and a touchdown, pretty easily.
Schuster to me, wide receiver 2. Because he's just too talented. He's still a bad week for him was 75 yards receiving and 85 yards.
I think he's a low end wide receiver 1.
He's gonna find his way in the end zone too.
I agree.
It's not like he's gonna go through droughts where he doesn't find the end zone.
Yeah,
So
and if Mason Rudolph is everything that Steelers fans proclaim him to be, then he'll be just fine.
Yep. Moving over to the Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo looked good last week. I mean the Steelers are better than people want to give him credit for. To me, he's a dart throw he's one of those flyers at quarterback.
I think he's a high end QB too, personally, because I think the Steelers defense are good. But I think Jimmy Garoppolo, and he proved it last week. I think he's
talented.
He's legit.
Yeah. The running backs, you can almost start all of them because
Raheem Mostert is someone who I'd be looking up to pick up off the waivers.
Burrito looked good. Mostert looked good, and Wilson had a couple touchdowns.
Jeff Wilson, I was like, holy crap.
So now all these Tevin Coleman owners are like, what's going on here, right?
That has to be the worst.
Because Coleman's the most talented technical term out of all those running backs. So you can start almost any of those guys. A wide receiver, I'm not starting Pettis.
I'm not starting any of the wide receivers.
I would start Deebo Samuel as a flex. Last week,
he's available.
Very good.
He's available on most waivers too, so I think that's another.
He was drafted this year, rookie. Week 1, he didn't really play well, but last week I think he had the touchdown. He looks good.
Yeah.
He looks like he's going to be a vocal point.
I would pick him up off the waivers. I'd see what he does against the Steelers secondary. Not the best in the world, but I think it's still pretty respectable.
George Kittle, tight end 1.
Agreed. And if Samuel plays well against the Steelers this week, then he's going to be a start for the future.
All right, what's your game prediction here? Steelers or the Niners?
Niners, I think. Mason Rudolph.
I'm with you on that. We're in agreement here.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph going at San Francisco. San Francisco 2-0 on the road this year. They go home, their first home game. The crowd's going to be amped. This is an easy win for me. I think.
I think Mason Rudolph will.
I think the Niners get this win easily.
And I think the Mason Rudolph is gonna a little bit of a awakening up issue because now they've had time to study up on him.
Now he's the vocal point. You know? The Seahawks didn't have time to. They didn't prepare for Mason Rudolph. They prepared for Roethlisberger. So
I agree.
I agree with you there. The next game on the slate,
Sunday Night Football.
The Rams at the Browns. The Rams. I'm not. This is. It depends on your situation, but Jared Goff to me is a high-end quarterback too. He plays better at home than he does on the road. He hasn't played great this year, so Jared Goff to me, if you have a better option, I'm starting him. Todd Gurley, I'm starting. He's looked. I could say I was wrong on that so far through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I can say I was wrong on that, but I can't say I was right on the workload. He's not getting the 20-plus touches. He just looks good.
Right.
And so you could start Gurley. Malcolm Brown is a flex you can start because.
How did Darrell Henderson look? I didn't check.
And that's another thing. I was wrong on Darrell Henderson. I don't know. I didn't follow the box score of that game, but I do not recall Henderson being a vocal point last week.
Neither do I.
Malcolm Brown is still okay flex option because he could get goal line carries.
Yep.
I like Brown. Brandon Cooks is he's up and down. He's not the most consistent guy, but a wide receiver 2. Robert Woods is consistent wide receiver 2 for me. Cooper Kupp looks very good. And
Henderson with 0 points, 0 carries.
And Cooper Kupp, he looks very good. He looks better than he did last year, and this is coming off the injury.
Yep.
So you can start any of your Rams guys, wide receivers. You can start them. Tight ends, I don't
know their names.
Tyler Higbee or Gerald Everett, but
yeah,
that's what it means.
Don't care,
right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Rams offense?
I think they're going to do well this week. I'm starting Jared Goff, even though I think he'll be closer to a higher end QB2 than he will be a QB1. And I think the Browns defense, though it's respectable, I think they do have some kinks they got to work out. I think the Rams will start to work out some of those kinks themselves. Going into the Browns offense, Baker Mayfield, I think, is a good start most weeks.
Even against the Rams, you think it's a lock?
I do think, not a lock, but I think he's going to be, a lower end, if not middle tier QB1. I can't see him going below that. Unless one of these guys that we've never heard, like if Daniel Jones goes off, right? So, I see that. Nick Chubb, he didn't look...
He's kind of disappointed this year because everyone, he's disappointed in the sense that he hasn't got the workload that I thought he would.
We put him at number 7 or 8.
He's talented enough to be that, but this is where I think if you are holding on to Kareem Hunt, this is why you're holding on to him. It's because the Browns want to preserve, they don't want to overload Nick Chubb. And they may, and I'm not saying that they're never going to give him 20 touches, but it's been disappointing for Nick Chubb owners.
I agree.
But you're still starting him this week.
I would still start him. I think there's, and it's only week 3. It's not like he's,
He could turn around. He could have, it could be totally different for the next 7 weeks. You're right.
I hear you.
Odell is a start easily. Jarvis Landry's been disappointing, but to me, he's still a flex option because he's talented enough.
Yeah.
Tight end and Njoku looks like he's not playing this week. He had
concussion, is it?
Yeah, and he also had a wrist injury. So it doesn't look like he's playing.
I wouldn't, So,
running backs, you're starting Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham Jr., Landry, and you could start Baker Mayfield. Game prediction here, Garrett. Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think the Browns, good team, but I think when it comes to maturity, I think the Rams have that down. Browns, like I said, have some kinks they got to work out, and I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think the Rams go on the road Sunday Night Football. And when the lights come out, stars come out. Stars come out.
Better coaching staff, better quarterback.
Agreed.
Better offense all around. I'm taking the Rams here as well.
Agreed.
Monday night game, last game of the week, Garrett. The Bears at the Redskins.
Monday night.
Let's quickly get into this. I talked about Trubisky as being like a flyer at quarterback if you were desperate. It's a good matchup for him. I like Montgomery in this one.
I wrote about him. I think he's going to be one of the better starts of this week.
He looked good last week.
I mean, anybody who's listened to this podcast knows I haven't been a big believer in Montgomery, but last week he looked good, and now I think this week against a bad Redskins team, I think this is when he's going to start to become a focal point of the offense. So, But Allen Robinson, I think, is also going to have a good week. Redskins defense, not the best in the world. And then Trubisky, I really hope you're not in a situation where you have to start Trubisky, but because he's tough to watch.
Hey, I show some respect.
But Trubisky, I hope you're not in a situation where you have to start him. But if you're in a situation where your quarterbacks aren't looking good, Drew Brees went down, could be an option for you because the Redskins are a bad defense.
Allen Robinson to me is a start. Josh Norman he looks like a shell of himself. He's not.
Josh Norman looks.
He looks bad.
Yeah.
So I'm starting Allen Robinson. Anthony Miller looked okay. You could play him as a flex option.
Yeah.
I think the Bears are going to be in for a good week. They need a bounce back. They barely got by the Broncos.
Right.
And so I think they come back a little bit of revenge here. Come out strong. They beat the. Oh, I'm giving away my prediction. All right, let's get into.
Hey, you know what? Hey, that kicker, Eddie Pinheiro.
You're a big kicker guy. What are your thoughts on Pinheiro?
Pinheiro, he hit that game winner. I think he goes into this week a lot of confidence.
You like him as a high-end kicker 1?
High-end kicker 1, in my opinion. I think he ranks around kicker 4 or 5, just below Mason Crosby. I'm starting this week.
So Redskins, I'm not starting Keenum.
No.
I'm not starting Peterson. Not a good matchup. I would start Thompson because he's a good pass catcher.
Terry McLaurin looks better. He was a waiver wire pickup, but now he's owned on most rosters. So
you could play him as a
he's
flex.
A flex.
Vernon Davis.
Nope.
I wouldn't say nope that fast because Jordan Reed may not play, and Vernon Davis is respectable at tight end.
Okay.
Someone's got to catch the ball.
Well, I named off.
I like Thompson a lot this week, especially in PPR. He's a good pass catching back.
Chris Thompson.
Yeah, Chris Thompson. Yeah. So you could play him, but this is not a great matchup for the Redskins.
No, I think this is going to be a pretty decisive win.
So I think we both got the Bears in this one.
Yeah, if you're in an IDP league, Khalil Mack. Not saying that he's available because why would he be? But enough IDP talk.
All right, that is the Week 3 matchups.
Garrett. Week 3 matchups.
we'll inform you of our picks next week, and I will probably be 90% on my prediction.
90%? Can I hold you to that?
No, I'd 90%. I'd say 80%. I'll get 8 out of 10 games right.
Well, there's 16 games this week. You'd probably have to get
16. 1, 2, 3.
Well, there's no teams on bye, so there has to be 16 games. He's counting.
Yeah, 16. Yeah, right. 32 teams. Okay.
So
it's long day.
Yeah, I'll probably get 60%. Right, I'll get 60% of them. But thank you guys for listening to the podcast as always. We appreciate the support. Sorry for all the inconsistency through social media and whatnot, but season's in full-fledged. There's a lot of guys putting out fantasy stuff. If you choose to listen to our podcast over other people's, we really appreciate that because we are just two kids trying to live out their dream, putting out fantasy football podcasts. So thank you so much for listening, and enjoy your week. Until next time. And I am 1-1. You are also.
Well, I got a lot of leagues, so it's hard to.
In our league, I'm talking.
In our league, I'm 1-1.
1-1. So we're both 1-1.
I can't sit here and go through all my leagues. It'd take like 10 minutes.
I'm glad he didn't ask me. I'm glad I was able to break the news myself. So we'll see you next week. Good luck to everybody. Peace.
Peace.